Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another season and another episode of the Excellence Cartel. Today we have former seven-time Mr. Olympia Phil Heath joining us, and it's going to be a very different conversation than I think you guys have heard before with him. At least we're going to do our best to make it happen. But as always, our last 7 days. So I'm gonna go over mine. I've been, as you guys know, I launched my book last week on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's an absolute bloodbath figuring out Amazon ads and sales
Uh,
and getting traction. But I've been working hard at it. I've been mastering the copy I had to write. I said to one of my friends who's a writing buddy, and he was like, "Dude, this stuff's like, how high were you when you wrote it?" And I was like, "Oh, it's pretty big. I mean, but it got very concise, you know." And he started laughing. He goes, "Well, you just got to keep chipping at it." So it's a good lesson at that. But otherwise, business has been good. The gym. Just bought some stuff from Matt down there at MI40 to load up to Iron House,
you
and
did. Nice.
yep. And we got the Nashville Fit Expo with coming up in a few weeks where I know I'll see you guys coming up here. So if you guys are
Mhm.
interested in that, be sure to follow us on social. We're sharing tickets. It's a free event now. The seminar, you guys will hear that. But Jay, how's your last 7 days been, man?
Been good. I had to get a cold plunge. Don't know how I feel about that.
Ugh.
Especially here in Kentucky right now. It's out on my porch. So,
Ugh.
uh, but yeah, I got this immune system stuff going on since the show. So I think a lot of people know about it. So, I just pushed my body to the brink. I got my labs back. My cortisol's still running a little high. So it was like, yep, you need some cold therapy to kind of break that and get things rolling. So I'm deep in meditation every morning. I'm doing cold therapy. It's a whole new ball game here right now. I'm 74 hours in on a fast.
Ugh.
So my ketones are cranking. I actually feel pretty good, but boy, am I hungry. I plan to break it tomorrow. But yeah, man, other than that, I feel good. Business is great. I mean, I can't, I got some big things coming up with the hormone clinic. So we might be taking some things in some really cool directions. I don't want to really talk about it yet because it hasn't all materialized, but everything's growing on my end. Dude, it's been good. It's been good.
Good. Well, we have a special co-host joining us today. Jason and I, our good friend Matt Christman. He has presented us with a PEC before out in Denver. As you all know, he does therapy returns us mortals to godlike status again. But Matt, how's your last 7 days been for you, bro?
Man, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me. The last 7 days have been pretty good. Just been focusing on my recovery with my torn quad tendon there. So that's been going really well. Just got released to do six
Oh no.
weeks and hopefully I might follow up next Friday. Hopefully they'll release me to get out of the brace. I can go full 90. So that's that's about my 7 days and trying to get things back to normal, back into a routine. So back into the gym, third week this week, and everything's been going really well. So can't do too much complaining when you have an incredible support system with friends like you guys, and incredible wife to take care of me and the dogs. It's all been good. So no complaints. The last 7 days has been good.
For our audience, did you keep the skin of the rattlesnake that you curb stomped successfully, but ultimately destroyed your quad tendon? Did you like turn that into like a WWE championship belt of some kind?
I should have. I mean, the car.
Oh,
Apparently, Heather said she'd walk by it, and the carcass was still there. But I'm sure it's long gone now. But I
oh,
should have, right?
you should have.
As a
You should have.
sentiment, as
You should have. You should have. Miss,
sacrifice.
when you told me what you did, I was like, no shit.
Yeah, freak accident, man.
Oh, that's
Unreal.
pretty
How it
funny.
usually is, man. That's how
Oh,
it usually
dude, I
is.
couldn't
Yep.
help it. I was laughing for a moment. I was like, that sounds something like Matt would do. Out there in the backyard, the alligators trying to chase his dogs down when I was down there in Tampa. I'm watching it go down. Matt's like, God, keep moving them, the alligators. So I'm like, all right, do your
It's
thing.
like how many times he tried, squatted 415 for a ride, and then he's, you know, going at a snake with his leg, and it's just freak shit, man. It really is.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's wild how it goes down,
Terrible.
dude. Mr. Phil
Yep.
Heath, I wore my beer down for you today. It's a little thirst trap. I'm not even gonna lie. But how's your last 7 days been?
Oh, it's a whirlwind because today's what, Thursday. So Yeah, the past week we were over in Germany, over in Cologne for the FIBO Power Expo. I was representing a couple different brands with KSM
Nice.
66, who's a leading world's ashwagandha company. So I have a collaboration with them as I just am getting ready to launch my newest endeavor called 7X Labs. It's my new supplement brand
Oh, sweet.
available in mid-June. So, doing that was really cool, but in conjunction with that, of course, working with Panada. I happen to have a partnership with them as well. They do great work with regards to, fitness equipment. To me, it's the Ferrari of sports equipment. So if you've driven it before, you know what it is, and you never want to turn back. Everybody has their own favorites, but what they did recently was come out with their new fantastic line. They reintroduced it after 30 years. The owner is still running the company, Rudy Panada. He's in his early 70s. And let me tell you, this guy actually trains just as hard as me, if not harder. He was a world, he not a strong man, but a power lifter, and he hasn't looked back. But he works with all the biomechanics. He works with engineers. He thinks it, he dreams it, and he writes it out, and they execute in record time with his team of engineers. I've seen it firsthand. So yeah, my last week was just a lot of business, but then of course, a lot of fun because I get to, work out on the equipment before it actually gets purchased. So it's almost like Batman type of shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, like you wanted this type of arm piece, right? Like for instance, they have like a seated curl machine, right? Everybody's done it, everybody's seen it. But have you seen one that actually takes your hand like this and it supinates the wrist? You haven't.
Oh,
They actually come out with these things, and it's like a kid in a candy store, right? So, this new fantastic line is actually really cool because it goes back in the day with chain movement, working out with like chains and stuff. So that makes people like think, well, wait a minute, this is like old school Nautilus type of mentality, with the chains and stuff. But I was able to do some lat pull downs on that, some legs, it's just really cool. So yeah, my last week was just filled with that, but then also meeting the fans, right? I get to meet fans from all over the world. The FIBO happens to be quite larger than what we've seen at the Olympia or the Arnold Classic. The Arnold
wow.
Classic is usually like one large, very large, massive hall. Try 14.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
it's just different, man. Like you have a whole hall dedicated to cardio, whole hall dedicated to sports equipment, whole hall get dedicated to, let's say, red light therapy, different modalities.
Wow.
Freaking Zumba, has like their own. They have coaching clinics. They have all these things, and then you have like the traditional supplement companies and all that. So there's a lot going on. But what's really cool is that being off this competitive stage, I still get to participate in these events and get to meet a lot of the fans, right? And what I love is that over the past 7 days, just fighting jet lag, of course, but then most importantly, just connecting with people in different language, different culture. You learn a lot. You learn a lot, like how they see me as a bodybuilder, but also how they see me as a human being that has actually enhanced their life in some way. And how I look at them is like, wow, like I never knew that you were going through this. Like, let me learn more, and just have that really cool cycle of, wow, energy is everything, whether it be positive or negative. It is everything. It's how you present yourself, in that positive area that you just never know who's watching. So yeah, my last 7 days has been full of abundance, in quite many ways. Not just, hey, I'm Phil Heath. It's just like, no, like I've gotten to see fans that were fans because their parents were fans now. So that's what's really neat. Get to see a dad,
Awesome.
dad bringing his kids, and he's like, this is the guy that was like, in my mind, he's the greatest of all time. And I'm like, holy shit, like that's really cool. So it's just, like I said, I don't have a bad day very often when I can think about like the amount of gratitude that, I get to experience, right?
Yep. Attitude's everything. That's how you look at things 100%.
Jay, go ahead, buddy. It's yours.
Well, I kind of feel we talked about how we would try to dive a little deeper in things. Obviously, we want to hear about training if it intersects some of the questions for sure. But you know, I know at one time, you had talked about having your own kind of health healing journey with your stomach, and I don't know if it was just hernias or you actually had some internal like, microbiome stuff from years of the stress and pounding of training and just all of the dieting. But take us through some of that. And I know you did come back after that and did compete too, but like take us through some of the mental stuff of like, the recovery. How did you handle it? How were you mentally? Did you ever have doubts that you would come back? And then are there any ramifications today, or did you learn anything from then that you can apply now to your lifestyle so that issues don't kind of creep in?
I mean, the issues that I had will kind of go backwards, right? So the issues that I had were predicated on me just being born with a hernia.
Okay.
Sometimes that does happen. Unfortunately, my parents had me have that surgery at 3 years old instead of 5 years
Mm.
old. Probably had a doctor that said, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. We'll sew them up and everything will be fine." Well, they didn't think like,
That is.
what if this doesn't work out? And I didn't find that out until I started putting on mass, right? Because of course, I was an all-state track athlete, state champion, high school basketball guy, got a Division I scholarship. I was weighing 175, 180 pounds. So you don't really notice a hernia until next thing you know, you're putting on weight. And it wasn't up until 2014 when I was off season, right before the FIBO, actually. So literally 11 years ago, around this time, started doing some posing. I started noticing like some discomfort, and I was like, "Huh, what is that about?" Then I started noticing, discomfort like lower abdominal area, and you're like, "Okay, maybe I'm starting to develop a little bit of a hernia." But I'm like, "All right, I already had one, but maybe that's just part of the game." Like you're breathing, very intensely through your belt and stuff, and yeah, you're trying to brace as much as you can, but it doesn't always pan out, right?
Mhm.
But as sorry, my dogs are going nuts. They must hear a delivery guy coming.
Oh,
But
good.
I would say it became an issue more or less around 2017. So then therefore, after I won my seventh Sandow, I had to have emergency surgery. Now, what happened during that time was that once they opened me up, it's supposed to be like a 20, 30-minute surgery. And this is a physician, this is a guy is operated on other pros. I won't name him, but he's operating on other pros in other sports. And they basically, he sews you up, has you walk out, and you could be golfing the next day. You could be walking, doing your thing. In fact, I was supposed to be walking that same afternoon, but a 30-minute procedure took 2.5 hours. And it was because of the fact that I actually had intestinal strangulation.
Yeah.
That, anybody that could research that part, you have two hernias, but then you're bleeding through your colon. Therefore, you're not actually absorbing the nutrients as much as you should. So I'm very happy that I looked really, really good at the 2017 Olympia, winning my seventh in a row.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, damn, what I would have looked like if I never had this problem at all. But then, of course, the following year, retore the incision. It was only a quarter-sized piece of mesh that I was actually put in. But when you're trying to hold this much mass, and the mass that I have now is not even close to what I had, right? But that type of mass, as you're getting tighter and tighter going to the show, the fascia is very thin. And I've been very fortunate to have like very thin skin. I mean, even now, like I can flex and like you can see like how thin that is compared to a lot of other, especially most African American guys.
Yeah.
They may have like a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
May take them a little longer to get it down. I cinched that belt, dude, and that thing popped just like that 3 weeks out. So I had to get another surgery, and I was had to put because you have diastasis recti, so you're supposed to be
Mhm.
like this, and now they have to like peel from here
All the
to
way over.
all the way over. They gotta put the titanium staples in. They gotta put a larger piece of mesh here, like in a T. Now I have 6 months of like inactivity. So during that time, I mean, you're talking about like you're being, hit with some mental fortitude issues at that point, right? You think winning Mr. Olympia is very hard. Of course it is. But when you're at the top and then you happen to lose and you know that it wasn't predicated on anything that you did, like I didn't cheat on a diet. It's not like I suck with posing. It was just, hey man, if you can't hold your stomach in, you're not going to win. I still feel like I fucking won. You know, I still feel that way. That's how I'm always going to be. But at the same time, you know, I got second best in the world at something while being severely injured.
Yep.
I took 2019 off, and I basically said I was just going to walk away and not do this anymore because I don't really have to.
Right.
I wanted to experience life, and I chose not to even go to the Olympia because I just wanted to understand what it felt like to be a civilian, like just watch it on TV, see how you feel about it. In fact, I was with one of my friends. He's an actor, Amari Hardwick. And we were just watching at his house, and then my phone goes on, and it was Shaq. And Shaq's like, "What the fuck are you?" And I'm like, "I'm with Omari, dude. We're watching freaking live stream." And he's like, "You're supposed to be here, man." And everybody wanted me there, but I also needed to know what that felt like.
Yep.
And in retrospect, I feel like I don't know if being there would have helped me as far as like my competitive spirit. I think it would have just irritated me more. And you know, but what it did do is make me want to come back for one more go at it because I saw who won, and I was like, well, that's a guy that I've beaten up quite a bit of time. And I also, no disrespect, I mean, it's just something that I was like, well, yeah, why not? And then when COVID hit, I was like, everybody's dealing with levels of adversity worldwide. I have an opportunity to do something that no one in the history of mankind can do, which is be a 7-time Michelin Olympian, get ready for the biggest bodybuilding show in the world, and try to go for number 8. No one has that opportunity, but I do. So I just look at it as a great challenge. And I was also filming my documentary, Breaking Olympia, that was produced by Dwayne Johnson of Seven Bucks Productions. So I thought, well, either way, I have this awesome opportunity that would be, you know, captured on film. What better way of making a send off? But along with what you're asking, like the mental fortitude and stuff like that, I mean, it was very difficult. You know, you have to learn how to love yourself through the pain. You have to understand that, like, when you're at the mountaintop, it is very, very tough. And even as I said, you have to take a deep breath because there's less oxygen up there, right? There's more pressure up there. But what you teach yourself is that I belong to be here. And once you teach yourself that you belong to be here, that means that you understand the responsibilities. You may not know right away. It's like if you were to be married or have kids or even have a pet, like, and you never done it before, you're like, well, you have like what you idolize someone else for doing. But then once you're in it, you're like, well, holy shit, man, like this didn't come with a blueprint for me. I have to now create this blueprint. But what you have to do is have that dream, understand that like the bigger the dream, the more responsibility. The more responsibility means you have to hold yourself highly accountable for your actions and the higher standards that you must have. And then you have to have the consistency even on your worst day. And that's the hardest part. Because the worst days will happen. That has zero to do with you doing your craft. Like for you, Jay, like you didn't ask for an autoimmune issue. You didn't ask for like, you know, these things, but they happen.
Yep.
So it's like you have to maneuver your mind and say, okay, these things happen. How can I adapt and still uphold these standards? But then recognize the reality of, hey, man, I'm not going to be 100%.
Yep.
I'm going to be 50% today. Maybe I'm 70, but I'm going to give it the best 70, the best 80. And I have to love myself through it because my body is showing up for this guy.
Yeah.
And that's really like the part that I feel like I may have missed during. But toward the end, it was my wife that actually sat me down, and thank God that she's the way she is. She was just like, Phil, like you're a very deep person, but you got to go deeper. The deeper you know yourself, the deeper you can see other people's pain. You can help other people.
Yep. Yep.
And make sense of what you're going through. So I would say having those moments of triumph were great. Having the moments of disappointment were great too, because I know what it feels like. The problem is when you disassociate from the pain too much.
Yeah.
Because that's easy. Like men nowadays, like us four, we're talking. You see, what are most, you know, men talk about like on podcasts or even like social media, they say, okay, don't disassociate with gambling, porn, video games, other things, alcohol, drugs. You can actually disassociate with even going to the gym because your problems still stay.
Yeah.
So you have to know that like even going to the gym could be toxic if you're not dealing with what's inside. So the trauma that you may have, like you have to still address it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why they say breakups make great bodybuilders, because you can disassociate from the breakup and just focus on the physique.
Yeah.
When do you deal with the bullshit that is still here? And then you just bring that still unwell into the next relationship or the next business. And
Yeah.
and maybe you're not even able to enjoy the best relationship or the best business because you've been numbed out the whole fucking time.
Yep.
So these are things like I wish I would have had
Mhm.
this 22 years old, These
I,
are things that I had to learn like through trial and error. These are things that I had to learn with my wife. These are things that I had to learn with counseling. These are things that I
Mhm.
learned just through life. Like that's part of it. But the problem I have is it's like um not like if get becoming complacent in those areas of saying like, oh, okay, I think I got it figured out. It's like, no, you never will. You never will. Like I'm 45, like I never will because I got more years to live, right? Like I'm not as wise as I would be at 50, let alone 60.
yeah.
So there's more to learn. So even I have to tell myself, like, where are your standards? Where are your dreams? Where you want to put your focus on? Why is it that way? Who can you help? Who can help you? Who can hurt you? And really, the person who can help you is you. The person who can hurt you is you.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
you have to smile through it sometimes, man, because you realize, like, damn, man, I really thought that I really thought I had it going on. And it's like, no, that's just your fucking ego, dude. That's just your, that's just your ego talking. And you got to know that the only way your best days are ahead of you is if you put your best foot forward today
Mhm.
and acknowledge when you mess up. Like I mess up all the time. It's just removing the ego from it and knowing that when you have it, who does it affect? And usually it's your loved ones. So having that mental fortitude and understanding like everything can't just be F this, F that, grunt and cuss through these workouts. Look, guys, I've done that. And you still feel empty. You still look at your trophies and it's like, yeah. You'll be the billionaire that wants to jump off of a roof.
I, I have a quick follow up for you because this is what I'm finding, Jeff, and then I'll let you guys fire it. But Phil said a lot there that I'm like, it's speaking to me right now, dealing with what I'm dealing with. He talked about having to show up, even when you're not at your best. And something that kind of hit me was my son told his mother that we're divorced, that, dad's not doing well and, he's not himself. And like, that hit me pretty hard because I still thought I was doing all the things, showing up for him and doing all the things. But so he's spending spring break with me and he's worried that we're not going to do a whole lot. And I definitely had plans to do a ton of stuff, but I realized that like he's seeing me not being the way I truly need to show up, and he's feeling it and seeing it. And I'm trying to not let him really like see all that. Um, so I had a come to Jesus moment yesterday that I've just got to snap out of it. Like I'm learning something new for all my clients. I work with a bunch of functional people, and I got to learn and take this as more of like, not why is this happening to me, but it's happening to me to help other people and just move forward, because I've been in my head and just kind of beating myself up like, oh, you put yourself here, you competed when you were too stressed, you shouldn't have been doing this, you shouldn't have been doing that. And it's like, I just got to let it go and show up. And so I'm doing therapy as well. So you spoke to me a lot there. So anyways, guys, I'll let you guys throw some questions, but I just wanted to follow up with that because there was a lot of there that kind of really struck me for where I'm at right now.
Yeah,
Well,
he did
No,
say
that's
a
great,
lot.
man.
I was going to say something real quick, man. Like I appreciate even being vulnerable to share that. That's something that a lot of guys don't do enough of. I think it's really cool that your son does see your patterns.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's awesome.
Yep.
Because he cares, right? And he just wants to make sure that you're okay. So I think, I'm not a father, so I can't really speak on it, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's good to be able to communicate with him and just like dad has good days and bad days. Dad's doing as best as he can. You just
Yep.
know that no matter what happens, dad loves you, no matter what. Like I would die for you. I'd run through walls for you.
Yep.
And we will do stuff, but yeah, dad's kind of like, just figuring it out, son. But we're good, and keep moving forward. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that because I do some performance coaching as well, and I deal with a lot of you know, high net worth earners and even low, like, but just men. And it's like, how do we talk to these kids who see us, things that are caught, and then some things that are taught? He caught what he saw.
Yep.
But it's okay. It's just like, nah, man, like dad ain't perfect, and it's like dad's getting through it. Dad's human.
Yep.
Dad's got some demigod in him now. Don't get it twisted.
That's right.
Superhero in him, but like, yeah, some days it's like, but we're good. I just wanted to honor you for sharing that, man. It's good stuff, even for me, because I was married once before. I had a stepson, and they do catch a lot of your mannerisms. Even though he wasn't blood to me, he would see certain stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
And I can see like how later in his years he's utilized certain habits. So you always have to be mindful. And that's what I was talking about earlier, being accountable, being able to reflect.
Yep.
It's like you're doing it, man. That's freaking dope, man. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
There's so many ways I want to go now, but I do have a couple of things framed out. So, Matt, after I get done, think of a follow-up after Mr. Phil answers my question. But I want to go in the direction of therapy. I want to keep going with that. I read once, because I love reading, that Dwayne Wade said that once he retired, he would seek out therapy to figure out what to do after he retired. Is that what led you to therapy, was retiring from pro bodybuilding, or was there like a moment? And then in your journey of therapy, I talk about a lot in my book. I talk about, my brittle bone disease, what got me into bodybuilding, the bullying, the wild surgeries I endured. And ultimately for me, it was psychedelics that ended up helping me. So I'm just curious because, we talk very transparent on this podcast, about this stuff. So if you don't mind kind of delving into a little bit of that for our audience, and then Matt, you have a follow-up ready to go, my man.
Yeah. So I think it's, it was imperative that, I address what was working and what wasn't, right? What was working in the bodybuilding and stuff was that I was winning, right? But it doesn't mean I was thriving as a human being in the ways that would allow me to grow exponentially. Because you think like, okay, you win all these titles, right? You should already have it figured out. It's like, no, man, like you've suppressed so much shit. That's probably what D-Wade was talking about, is that you suppress a lot of things because a lot of people are pulling at you from different directions. And there's a lot of needs, wants, and wishes, not from just yourself, but from other people around you. And who knows, like the small and big traumas. I mean, I do recognize that he had a lot going on with his first wife. They had the kid. He was trying to do what's best. She was inserting herself pretty heavily, and you can see it in his face. If you look at years past, you can always tell like when someone's heavily inflamed because they're dealing with a high amount of cortisol, right? So they're dealing with stress at home. They may be they may be drinking a little bit, and you start seeing that in his performance a little bit. But I study people, so like I watch, and I'm like, huh. You'd have to go back in years to kind of figure it out, like the time frame, but you kind of see, and then of course, when he's able to actually exhale, he's like, well, shit, like I got all this stuff that I have to unpack now. Let me go do this. So what impacted me was the fact that like, look, yeah, I was on my second marriage. Well, I was getting ready to get married, but I was already with my now wife we've been together for almost 11 years. So she had to endure the prime of my career. So, and then prime going up and then going down, like by losing and then walking away. And then having to see a champion that people admire, all that good stuff, see what is really behind the curtain. And, God bless her for having the wherewithal, and just God gave me a great wife, because she literally sat me down and was like, look, Phil, like there's a lot of things that I have to unpack too. Like I've had to suppress too before you. And I can't heal while you're dealing with all of this. And I need you to step up and try to figure this out. And a lot of it was stuff that, like, when you suppress so much stuff, you one day wake up and become depressed, but you don't realize it's from the suppression. But and then as you heal, now you're dealing with stuff that you're like, wait a minute, that was from, oh wow, that wasn't just from childhood. That was from when I was 13. That was from when I was 18. Holy shit. I'm now you're like,
Yep.
Babe, I'm so sorry. Like, wow, like that's why I was snappy with you, or that's why I was being avoidant with you because of this relationship that had nothing to do with you. And as you heal, then you realize that it's heavy. It's very heavy. But through it all, you're able, as long as you're with the right person, in my opinion, you're able to look at each other with the kindest eyes and the softness of heart of saying, like, look, I know what I may have said like this time or that time, like probably disappointed you or even hurt your feelings and stuff. This is where it stemmed from. And I'm not going to do it again. And I'm going to do my best to, and when you say, like, you say you're sorry, like I've said a sorry a million times in my life, you know, but then you wake up and you say enough is enough. Because now I understand the framework. I understand how I got there. I can understand like how I was raised or how I had to perform for love in certain areas of my life and how sports actually magnified that. Imagine, you know, you're competing, right? The only way you're going to get some love is if you win, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless if you play second place all the time, then they might love you twice as much, you know, because they want you to win.
Yeah, the underdog, right?
But imagine these kids, man. They don't get the same hug if they lose if they win. So I had to deal with a lot of that. So that's why, you know, in my career, I think it happened at the perfect time because I believe in God's plan. You know, I understand like what is for me is for me. I think I have the control to change that timeline a little bit. And I probably did, but I'm here and I'm in the best space now to absorb information, to journal, to do breath work, like you're talking about, to cold plunge. I literally just had one delivered
Nice.
a month ago, and then we had to get it serviced yesterday, and I haven't been able to use it. So I'm like, yeah, no, but yeah. But I get that. But I think having someone to you know, go speak, but then also to learn how to communicate. Because for me, I was raised as an only child, so I both of my parents worked.
Yeah.
So how do you communicate? You know, my parents weren't very hands-on with that. They weren't like, hey, this is how you talk to a girl. This is how they were asking me like, how am I? How was my real day? Like, you know, and then you realize that how you're raised, you kind of develop relationships with other people that don't ask you how your day is because you kind of seek that same energy that you grew up with. So you see how toxic that is, but then all you want is really, really good attachment. So bodybuilding for me was perfect because I didn't really have to be buddies with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I thrived in it because I was raised as an only child. I played hoops, but I shot by myself. It's a team sport. I could show up for that. I was highly competitive, still am. Bodybuilding didn't really need anyone to yell at me to go lift the weights, to do the cardio, to even eat. This is perfect for me. But the suppression of feelings, that is not good. And when you talk about psychedelics, I mean, look, man, I've dabbled in that. You know, I'm not doing that anymore, but like I did freaking, you know, freaking DMT. I did Toad, you know, I did a ceremony and stuff. I've seen things, right? And I realized like even through that, like they draw me closer to God. And I was just like, huh, okay, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to do. I'm going to fail and I may embarrass myself. But how can I deliver myself without hurting the people around me as I fail forward? Because you're going to fail forward. But how do I make sure that my family, my wife, my friends, my inner circle, my business, you know, is not going to be heavily affected? Because no one wants to feel like a burden either. But you want to be authentic. So there's all these things, you know, and you're like, but I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. And it's just like, yeah, but can you make them less? Make them not as impactful, like
So when you had a heal, did more things like, so when you couldn't train, or you're in your healing mode with your surgeries, and
Mhm.
bodybuilding was kind of taken from you for a bit, did more stuff come out? Because that's what I'm finding now. Like, I can't really train. It's been pulled away from me. I can't compete. I should be getting ready for the Masters. I'm finding more stuff coming up, and it's like that's why I headed to therapy, because more shit. I guess I was hiding things by competing, running 3 businesses. I was a lawyer at one time. Like, I've always had to be go, go, go and not sit and think. And now I kind of have my business where I can sit and think. There's other people that run stuff, and now I don't have bodybuilding to push. And it's like all this stuff is boiling up. And I'm just curious if you saw that too, or was it already kind of dealt with for you?
I'm still doing it.
Okay.
I'm still doing it. I had a long, I mean, look, like I've been an athlete my whole life,
Yeah, same. Yeah.
school to, and you know, I did my thing, right?
Yeah.
At a very high level. And yeah, I have nightmares. I've had those. I've had to make sense of that. I've had to, there's days where I'll be, my wife and I, we have coffee in the morning and we sit and we chat. And just yesterday, I'm sitting there. She comes down the stairs and I'm just weeping,
Mm.
just weeping. And it's from the fact that things get extracted.
Hmm.
And I'm tired of holding on to it. So I think it is important in this season for you to just allow your body to feel.
Yeah.
Because if you can feel all that, that means that you're working through it, not around it, not avoiding it. You're meeting it head on like you would on a squat rack, saying like, man, this is time,
Yeah.
it's gonna hurt, and it's like if we can, as bodybuilders, if we can think, if I can look at that heavy ass leg day and when I stare it in the eyes and I know it's going to hurt and I may pass out, I may throw up, I might be wrecked. My whole CNS is fried, and I know I'm going to be okay. Then what about your other stuff?
Yep.
It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt emotionally. It may actually
Uh,
look. It may have affected somebody else, that it may hurt them. You just working on your shit, like them seeing you. Hey, what's going on? Well, I'm dealing with this. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, you were a dick. Like you hurt me during that time, and I suppressed that too. Now you got to work through that.
Yeah.
But what's the outcome? The outcome is that you have a release. The outcome is that you're like, wow, like I feel lighter. Because if you don't, you're gonna die with a lot of heaviness.
Yep.
And I think we've all seen loved ones pass away. And the one thing I think we all can agree on is that they just want to feel lighter at the end. They want to have no regrets. They want to make amends. They just, like, and I think about that too. And I'm like, but it's the ego, it's the
Yeah.
rigidity of us that because it's that ego, bro, guys, it allowed us to survive some of the most traumatic experiences of our life.
Yep.
So you don't want to necessarily kill them completely. You just want to acknowledge them and say, you stay your ass over there. This is not a crisis.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
gotta go work on this though.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's funny you brought that up. My dad, I just watched him pass the Lewy body dementia last year. It was very difficult. And some of my stuff stems from his behavior when he was, when I was coming up. And that's exactly what he said. He said, I think I've gotten this from all the stuff that I did. And so he died with that, and he felt he got that disease because he was very healthy. I mean, he walked, he ate right, he bodybuilt. And at 73, he passed. And he said he thought he got that from the way he behaved as a younger man and never dealt with it. So that struck a chord too. Matt, you haven't got to ask a question because I just keep firing things, so I apologize.
No, you're
I
good.
know Jeff wanted you to take a question,
Dude,
so
they're all good follow-ups. Go for it,
Yeah, that
Matt.
was great. Mental health obviously is, such a crucial part overall with wellness. And obviously, from your perspective, like what mental health advice would you give bodybuilders or anyone in general, like who may be struggling right now?
Um, to find a healthy way of going to the gym. Meaning like, okay, like you going through some stuff, man, and we've all done it. You're angry, you're frustrated, you're hurt, you go to the gym. But at some point, I believe like we have to learn how to, pull out a pad of paper and write things down. Maybe write down when you wait until maybe drive to the gym Maybe drink half the drink the other half when you park. Write down some thoughts. Okay, now write one thing that honors you. Now go do it, because now you've kind of primed your mind. Okay, I'm safe, I'm good. Yeah, I'm pissed off right now, but I need to make sure that whatever I'm working through, I'm actually working through it. And then when you get done, maybe write down something else. Now drive home, because the last thing you need to be doing is bringing that shit in your house. So, for people that are going through it, man, I think journaling is everything. Because when you start writing down like you hate yourself, you're going to stare at that for a little bit and be like, man, do I really hate myself? And then you might say, why? And at least get it out, and then stare at it. Stare at it before you go to bed and be like, man, why did I talk to myself like this? And then ask yourself, like, okay, well then, what would make a great day? What would make a what do I want to do that would make me happy? And see how these things start adding up. Eventually, I think you're going to come up with some real cool answers. And I think the problem I had was that I think a lot of the problem we all have, guys, is that we just didn't have the tools growing up. Maybe some people do beyond, but man, like life ain't got no damn rehearsal. You just try to figure it out, man. It's like Jeff got his guitar back. It's like, man, like if one of them strings break during one of your performances and stuff, you got to figure your shit out. You can't stop. Show must go on. They got to go, and then you figure, all right, well, let me recalibrate the next time. Let me double check this, that, and the other. And then how do I handle these things emotionally? So look, I wish I would have had, I wish I would have had the confidence to go talk to somebody, even when I was in college, when I was suicidal. Yeah. I wish I would have guys, like I think just 2-3 days ago, a young man for LSU just took his own life.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. It's sad, man, because now you got his best friend. I read the note that the best friend said. It was like, we were going to go pro in this, I was going to go pro in that. We were going to hold each other up. And now you left me. And I read that twice and I was like, damn, I feel so bad for this young man. Because he said, I offered myself to you, but it's like for everyone that's dealing with it, and it gets pretty dark.
Yeah.
That's where you have to raise your hand, man. You have to find that one person and demand that one person to hear you and see you. And if that means it's a therapist, then that's who it is. We have apps now like Better Health and all this other stuff. They will listen to you. They may not be one of your homies. And you may, and for those people that want to go to their friends, some friends need to be better friends. Like if someone asks me how I'm doing, we all have those friends, like, I'll just give you like, yeah, I'm good, bro. But it's like, nah, man, like, how are you really doing? Because how I see you, something different. Oh, man, do you have a minute? And actually have no expectation. But I think that also the problem, Matt, is like relationships have become so transactional that people don't want to share because they realize it's just a transaction. It's just a transaction. Like, if I say how you doing and this and that, you're gonna want something from me or whatever. Or maybe you're just an energy vampire. Maybe I just give you all the best advice in the world and you still go fuck off. It's tough, man. But I will say, for anyone that's going through it, I think the number one thing is to try to be as still as possible and breathe, because you got to starve out that anxiety. And we all know what that feels like. It's like the tightness in the chest, the clenching of the fist, the wanting to, the fight or flight response, you wanting to leave a room, run, just try to breathe and just close your eyes and just breathe. I've had to do it many times. And it has nothing to do with, even if my wife says something, I could just take it the wrong freaking way because I'm an idiot. And I have to sit there and listen. Relatable. And just breathe and say, no one here is my enemy. The things I've suppressed are my enemy right now. I need to starve this out, make sense of it, speak positive to my experience, and put my foot down also and say, let's get your mind right. but let's not do it with like harsh, rigid language of calling ourselves wusses, pussies, these negative things. Like, you don't have to talk like some drill sergeant that you're getting ready to go out to Afghanistan. Like, this is not war. You need to have peace within your mind, not war. And that doesn't mean that you're not hyper vigilant if some shit had to go down. It just means that, like, for the person that you're talking to is probably the 4 or 5 year old version of yourself, man. You ain't gonna talk to your kid crazy, but that kid is still in you, so you got to talk to him, start to talk to her when you're going through it. Otherwise, you're not serving anything. I mean, and look, like, as I say it, I'm like, Phil, you got to do more of that to yourself, and it's like that's why it's always never ending. No, I don't know what's gonna happen when I walk out of here and someone puts, if I'm in a situation where I get triggered, and then I have to say, nah, man, like that doesn't serve me. Or this business deal didn't go well, and this went a won't like this didn't work out. Maybe it wasn't supposed to, but how do I show up? And what's the alternative? Grab my gun, kill myself, grab some pills, do something very selfish, or write it down, look at it, try my hardest to be an adult about it, and breathe and meditate, pray. I advise everybody to find faith, but if you don't have it, like, you better do the everything else, because the world is not designed for you to it ain't all Hallmark cars and rainbows, man.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
actually wrote about this. I'm working on my second book about some stuff, and I wrote that probably the most powerful thing I ever said to myself was, I fucking hate you, when I was looking in the mirror at myself, and I really meant it. It was like the first time like it really like sunk in at a deep, deep level. I wanted to kind of go somewhere. Uh, there's a friend of ours that we all know named Joey, and he's just a gym pop guy. He's a high level musician though, and super high level songwriter. Writes. I said, "Hey man, I have a chance to interview 7-time Mr. Olympia today. What's a question you would want me to ask from just a random perspective?" And his went along what it was like chasing excellence and what your mindset has been, and like keys along the way. Like, what's it like to stay driven? How's that changed for you? And then, like, has there been mentors like Tim Grover, people like that along the way that have kind of given you nuggets? And then, Jason, if you want to go ahead, and then Matt, we'll go from there. Kind of start landing.
Yeah, no, I looked at it as, okay, this is my niche. Like, I'm obviously good at this because I was being told I should compete in bodybuilding even while I was a Division I athlete. So I do a show, don't know what the hell I'm doing, still beat everybody. And I did it naturally against guys that weren't. And I'm like, holy crap, like that's pretty damn cool.
Those pics were insane. I remember.
Yeah, I remember seeing you in the Denver jersey. I was like, damn.
I'm just now recognizing how cool that really was.
Yeah.
I just thought that was like, well, that's just kind of normal, I guess. I don't know. And it's like, no, dude, like it ain't normal. But yeah, no, that chasing for excellence, it was just like, to the nth degree, the formula was n+1, nth degree plus one more, nth degree plus one more. How far can I take that plus one?
Yeah.
So that means I have to give it maximum effort and then another one. And I have to be willing to show up every day like that. And realizing the opportunity that I have the opportunity with these genetics, and all I got to do is work. And I guess for me, it was always like, well, you see genetically gifted people all the time, people with crazy IQ and this and that and the other. Like, some people are just lazy. They don't get it done. So I was like, man, like I could do something really unique if I just go all out. And look, I didn't go all out being in basketball, because I kind of like was met with not getting the playing time I wanted. And I was just like, man, I'm just going to do enough to warrant while I'm still here, while I should get more. But really, I probably should have transferred and went to a different college and just had a better experience. But I still wasn't in the gym enough. You see what I'm saying? So like, when bodybuilding came around, I was like, nah, I'm not going to get outworked by these other guys. It took me a while though, because you realize, like, back then, like, you were like, to be a pro bodybuilder, like, you had to be willing to travel as well.
Yeah.
And you're getting paid to do that. But then honestly, guys, like I just looked at it like it says IFBB Pro. I'm a pro. What do pros do? They do things at an elite level, not just a high level, an elite level. And it doesn't matter if they're dealing with personal shit, they're still here because that's what pros do in any walk of life. So I just upheld that standard, man. And then I had to gamify the process. I was like, okay, you win one Mr. Olympia, that's like a first level of prestige in Call of Duty. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many levels can you go? How
Right.
many do you go? Do you care about declaring this and hearing what people have to say? I was like, well, I want to win 10. And people thought I was nuts. People thought I was arrogant. And I was like, well, you don't live in this body either. So I just eliminated that noise. And, you know, for your friend, it's just like when you're the pursuit of excellence is like a beautiful thing because you'll never be perfect. I think the cool part is when you can smile when you talk. Like when I smile, I'm like, yeah, man, it was cool. Like even now I get to train. I'm like, oh, that feels so awesome when I can get that perfect rep. That feels so great. Like, and then I get to see the result. And yeah, I'm not going to be what I once was, but I can still feel great. So I'm sure when he plays, it's like, man, that perfect sound. Man, everything was just flowing where it was like instinctual. And like Tim Grover would say, it's like you do it at a certain level where you don't have to trust your instincts anymore. Your instincts will trust you. That's mastery. And that's why Tim and I get along very well. Tim is like family to me and my wife. And he shares a lot of golden nuggets, you know, like what MJ went through and Kobe and D Wade and all that. And the commonality I would say that I have or that he shared is that a high willingness to learn, a willingness to fail forward, but just the gamification. We're willing to gamify anything. And I think as long as you stay competitive in a non-toxic way, it's beautiful. It's everything, dude. If you could just be highly competitive and not let it turn so like very toxic, like why wouldn't it be awesome? Why wouldn't it? And because it's going to bring people in to try that. They're going to want that, you know? So yeah, I hope that answered it.
No, it does. The only thing my mind goes to is, do you have to have, isn't part of the chase, the learning to tame the toxicity and the fight of the dragon, like Jordan Peterson talks about a lot. You know what I mean? And then Jay, you go ahead. I'm sorry. That was just my follow-up to that.
Yeah,
No,
one thing
I was going to say real quick with that,
Yeah.
that was probably the hardest part for me with having the dream killer mentality. When I was like this, like Black Mamba, like, you know, like just fuck the world, like this is what it's got to be. That hypervigilance was key, but then I also realized that that was very hard to tame. That comes with the price. That comes with the price of people getting close to you and you being like, nope.
Yeah, I get that.
You know, so it's like you can do that, but that alter ego comes at a price. It may cost you a business, a relationship, a marriage. It will. Okay. And you got to be okay with that. If that's your goal, if that's your goal and you want to use that, okay. But all this other stuff, you can't have it both ways.
That's honest.
It's extremely name an athlete. Name an athlete that is at the top. We're talking about the top that hasn't had a divorce.
Yeah.
You know, or their kids not liking them, or their kids that come out messed up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's tough, man. So it's like no one's really mastered that. I'm sure it's possible, but man, that's you know, it's definitely difficult. Jay, you had something to say?
Yeah, I've always kind of wondered. You obviously are staying in great shape, but you see some guys get off the stage and they kind of just stop training or like they're able to just let that, and I'm gonna call it quote unquote a gorilla suit go. And one of the things that I'm battling with right now, I was a small kid. I was 111 pounds when I picked up weights at 18. I built myself up to about 210. You compete at 185. Not a big guy like you ever were, but it was my best. And now I'm not at my best right now. And like, I'm like having, slight identity crisis because I'm not walking around as big and round as I normally do. And so I'm wondering, have you experienced any of that? Even, I mean, I know for you still look amazing, and for other people looking at you, you're still a big guy, but you're not where, because you've alluded to it a couple times. You said, "Well, I'm not as big as I was, or I'm not what I was." Was there a time where you struggled with that, or was it easy for you to downgrade and be like, "Nah, this is where it needs to be, and I'm still good with how I am," or did you lose a little bit of that identity?
I think every guy, especially in my position, even yours, you know, you're gonna have the body dysmorphia, right?
Yeah,
It's all attributed to what you thought being big would offer you.
yeah, it did. Yeah,
You know, like I mean, you
Damn,
know, like
so well said.
it is.
what did it offer you? People looking at you a certain way, like, oh yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, you may not feel like you're worthy of that anymore because you're not what you once was. But at the same time, it's like, who cares? What do you want? And what's realistic? And I've had to tell myself that. Just went to the FIBO. I mean, you got guys all over the world, you know, like guys will get juiced up just to go wait in the line to go shake my hand.
Right.
Right.
I realize, Phil, they're waiting in line to meet you. I don't care what their purpose is. Well, I do care, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if that's what they want to do, because they want to so-called out-angle you to put it on social media, let them. Because if that's their championship,
Yeah.
good for them, I guess.
Yep.
But your goal, Phil, was to be the greatest of all freaking time. And you're arguably that.
Yep.
So for you, it's like, yeah, man, the show will go on with other people. You will be the best version of self today at however old you are. For me, I told myself, Phil, you're going on 46 at the end of the year. Just be the best you can be, the most healthiest version.
Yeah.
If anything, teach people how to not be so stressed out about being the biggest guy at your age. Because now everybody's gamifying TRT, HRT, peptides, all this other stuff. But they will listen to you. This is how I have to talk to myself. I'm like, they're gonna listen to you. And they will either catch it or you'll teach them. I think they'll catch it by visually seeing, like, obviously Phil's staying in shape. Okay, how is he able to do that? I barely train as much as I used to. Barely. I eat decent. I don't drink a lot of alcohol. I try to get as much rest as I can. I try to be as calm as possible. I'm gonna get in better shape. And I just tell myself, but for what? For you, for life.
Yep.
Yeah, man, it's never gonna. I mean, look, like even as I was on here, I'm like, yeah, I could work on this. And I'm just like,
Right. Yeah.
it's just I'm wired different, but at the same time, I don't allow it to go into a negative place where it's like I'm not worthy enough of love. I'm not good enough. You can't do that because it's like you'll become something that you shouldn't, which is, look, man, you're just going to do something that's going to hurt your body. You're going to. One of the things I'll tell you that is probably, and I'm just going to say this to you, is that it might be a blessing, the fact that you didn't get to do the Masters.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys that end up doing it, people asked me all last weekend, like, why didn't you do the Masters? Why didn't you do the Masters? I was like, guys, like, if it was for me, I would have already been excited to do it. I personally don't want to do it. If you want to do it, Jason, like, go for it. But at some point in time, you're gonna have to realize, like, and this is a funny pun, but is the juice really worth the squeeze?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, when is it gonna stop? Because there's people that have done masters that have really hurt themselves later on.
Yeah.
So, and that's why me and some of the guys were talking about, like, man, they should almost have a limit to like age limit.
Yeah.
But people are gonna do what they want to do. You know, and some people are still healthy. Like, people get their hearts done, you know, they get, you know, blood work done, everything looks good. But I just feel like body dysmorphia is very real. I think it needs to be acknowledged. And when you acknowledge it, it's like, nah, man, I'm, like you say, like, yeah, you're 42. Yeah, you were at the 211, and now you're not where you want to be. Find the healthiest way you can get back.
Yeah, that's what
You
I'm gonna
just
try.
honor that part. And like I said earlier, man, like, you need to thank your body every day for putting up with your crazy ass.
I do.
You're still doing stuff that ain't nobody else doing in your age group. You know, I think all of us here kind of know that. Like, you go outside, no matter what area of the world that you're in, men over 35 that actually can lift a certain amount of weight
Yeah.
and look a certain way, you're already winning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything more is like icing on the cake. It's just how you want to position yourself when you get into your mid 40s, late 40s, 50s. For me, I just want to position myself to know exactly really what works for my hormones right now. Making sure my heart is good, making sure my heart and this brain is where it needs to be. Like mitochondria is on point so I can fight off infections and stuff like that. Because this world, they trying to kill us all. So,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? But like other than that, I just want to train well enough to where I don't have to see a scalpel.
Man. Yeah.
So if I'm hitting those areas, man, I already know. Like I was just with Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, Lee Haney, right? Who's the biggest out of all of them right now? Me.
Mhm.
But they're all different examples of where I could be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Jay's done a really good job at like, still training. He still eats clean.
Yeah. Looks great.
Ronnie unfortunately had surgeries and stuff, but he still you think he eats bad? He still eats clean. Still tries to move as much as he can.
Attitude through everything is amazing to me.
You learn, so there's a part that you learn from him, right? It's like why, like his one of his best quotes is why complain? It's
Yeah.
like complain. So then you look at Lee Haney, who's like early 60s, and he looks great. Skin is healthy, this and that and the other. Eats very clean. And I'm like, okay, I can take what I'm seeing right here. What is common denominator? They all eat healthy. They still try to move their body as much as possible. And they don't walk around feeling like they're less valuable just based on the measurement of their biceps. Their value comes from the experiences that they have and their heart that they have and what they're willing to share with the world. I think, and same with Arnold.
Yeah.
Same with Arnold. I get to go train with him periodically and visit with him. And I realize like we don't know him right now for having some big ass muscle. We know him for the impact that he has with what comes out of his mouth and the actions that he does. So I think that's the best thing. And your son is always going to think you're the strongest dude.
Yeah.
It's just dope. I
Yeah.
think it's just we all can be reminded of we can't always put our self-worth in like how much we lift.
And how big
And
we are.
trust me, and it's freaking hard, dude. Like, cause
It's hard. For me, once the muscles came, I got validation. So it's always something I'm going to
yeah,
work, you
of
know.
course. You just got to redefine it now. It's like, trust me, man. Like people come up to me now, like, and they'll say, "You look really good for your age," and then they say, "I don't mean it like that," and I'm like, I understand what you're saying
Yeah.
because you're right. I haven't competed in 5 years. I'm clearly not doing anything remotely close to what I would be doing if I was still competing.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. And I think it's the acceptance on my part of saying, yeah, you're actually right. Name another 45-year-old guy that's got these arms and these, like you don't, dude. Like the retired bodybuilder, like is not, training all the time, is not eating 5,000 calories, is not on a bunch of gear. Like I'm above it all. Like, so I have to like, look, man, you're right. I'm happy to be alive. I'm thriving. I'm going to make the best of what I got. This body dysmorphia stuff will come up here and there. I'm going to say, yes, you still exist, but no, you don't control my happiness.
Got it.
Well said.
Okay.
Matt, and if we have enough time for we're all cool with that, I have one final one that I think would be perfect to wrap it up. But Matt, what's your final question as we go to land this with Phil?
Man, lay it with him for him. Just lay it out. Your question. I'm good.
All
This has been
right.
great.
All right. Phil, you alluded earlier to your journey with faith and God, and I talked a lot about mine, about how I took the disappointments personally, how I just didn't like what I went through in my childhood with the pain, the surgeries, law. No one talked to me. There was like no counseling back in the 90s. No one ever checked in on 11-year-old Jeff when I'm having to keep my leg broken every 6 hours and go through this awful surgery and shit. So I manifest it forward into life, and I'm still this broken man that I associated coming through physical therapy that pain was progress. So pain everywhere has to be progress. So personal life, light it on fire, feels good, whatever it might be. But it was when I did psychedelics that I got very, very spiritual. Like I absolutely knew that something's there. something bigger than me, greater than me, loves me, holds me. It was really weird. Like I tell all my Christian friends, my wife loves me, and I don't practice, but she does. She's a devout believer. And I told her, I was like, if more Christians did it, there'd be even more hardcore believers because even someone like me who kind of sits, like I acknowledge it, but it's hard for me still. How's that journey been for you as you've now at 45? And what's some advice for other people as they struggle, maybe men in their late 30s, mid 40s in this journey? Because it's hard, man. It gets real hard. That ego, that's an asshole. So
It is, man. It is. And yeah, it can destroy everything. It can build, it can keep you alive. But again, while it keeps you alive, it can destroy other opportunities.
Yep.
I really do feel that way. I used to say I need to kill the ego. And then I realized, no, it's a part of me. Like it's part of what got me here too. Part of what saved my life in certain situations. I just know how to manage them. And when you talk about faith, it's like, you know, I believe that you don't have to be perfect. I was literally reading this because I love these apps now. Like you get be like on a pray app and it'll teach you things, a scripture a day, teach a story. And I love the stories. And I'm just like, wow. And then I was like, okay, what do I want to learn? And I was like, I want to know, like, will God love me even when I'm bad? Even if I've already accepted him in my life and I still make mistakes? And his answer is yes. But then I read something that was very interesting. I think it was a book of Micah. And it just basically said, like, I love you no matter what. You don't have to be perfect for them to seek me. You don't have to get over your failures. Like, you don't, like, if you're an alcoholic, you're into drugs, sex, whatever, you don't have to break all those habits just to seek me, I'm here now. When I look at my relationship with God is like so cool because it's like in a world where everything is very transactional, he's just like, nah, man, I'm here no matter what. I'm here for you right here, right now. I already know you're messed up. And I got no judgment on you. Like, we're good, but I want you to have a relationship with me and I'm gonna help you. So why slap my hand? Why make it why would you not? Like the world over here, they're gonna love you one moment and then they're gonna turn their back on you. I already love you now. And I know I know you're a dickhead. I know that you messed up. But I'm here and I just think of it like, when you do psychedelics and you see, like, I don't know about you, but I was able to see certain things. I'm like, okay, if that's my heaven, I'm not going to screw this up. If I know that when I actually came out of my body and I saw my wife and I was like, nothing really mattered but my wife and my best friend. I didn't think about anything else. I didn't think about the money in the bank. I didn't think about any bill, think about any illness. And I was like, that's basically what people feel like, I guess. So why not honor that? Why not work on me? Why not be in love with this life? And why not develop a relationship with God? What did I have to lose? He's my co-pilot. He's already been directing me anyway. He's kept me a ton. Like now that I read and stuff, and I read the Bible and stuff, and I'm like, man. And then what's even cooler for me? This is just my experience, and to each his own. But like this damn phone, it hears stuff. Now my Explore page is better. Now the suggested stuff that I see on this phone is more fruitful. Otherwise, what shows up are things that distract you, things that are going to pull you away from your purpose. I'm not perfect person, and nor do I'm not the one like throwing scriptures and all this other stuff, but I have a desire to understand more because I've been shown things and I'm just honoring it. And look, like I advise everybody, my advice is like just to have an open mind with it. And especially if you're struggling, because I think If you can imagine someone that would actually love you with all your flaws and stuff and still want you in their house, it's very rare, because even family will turn on you.
Yep.
You know, even family, as you're trying to heal, will talk trash about you. They will disown you. They will say things behind your back. But that's not God. Jesus is not going to do that. All he's asking for is just you just try to follow. And that's what I learned. That's what I love, Jeff. And that's why I love, visiting with you guys about this, because I just think it's, I believe right now we're in a world of spiritual warfare. I think it's just really odd, the things that we've seen over the past 5, 6 years. You turn on the news, you can go on your phone, you see things are highly attacked from guys not even. I love Matt Walsh because he says, "What is a woman?" and people don't even want to answer it. I'm like, that's demonic. If you don't know what that is, you want a male to be able to do women's sports and then undress in a women's locker room. That's weird. I don't want to have a daughter and have to experience that. There's gonna be some furniture moving going on.
I get that. Yep.
So I realized, like, man, like, why is this happening? I'm like, cause if we make people feel like none of this stuff matters, the devil's doing his work. So I'm like, no, I put my foot down. And I'm not afraid of being so-called canceled when I'm already been blessed and highly favored by the Most High anyway. So that's what I love about having that journey that I had. Um, and I love right now the ability to just pick up a book, read scripture, listen, and realize that this world is not my end. This is what I do here. While I'm here, I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm enjoying this great conversation. But it's about leaving a real legacy, something that I could be proud of. And if today was my last day, I could say, well, at least I gave, a piece of me to the world that maybe someone needed to hear it. Maybe someone needed to hear it from someone that they admire on social media, because they don't want to listen to the dad or the brother, But I think it's all about energy, and it's all about realness, being authentic, knowing that you can be flawed, man, and still seek them. I would rather have that. Like, I think we all could agree, like, if one of your best friends came up to you and said, "Man, I'm dealing with this, and I've just been this," you would hug them. You would see them, and they would know that they're being seen, because if people aren't seen and they don't feel seen and they don't feel heard, that's when they want to. Yep. There's no life with that. But God already sees you. He already hears you. So it's like, and like I said, I wish 20, 25 years ago, I would have had that, because I wouldn't have experienced something stupid. But I'm just glad that, in a way, even as I say, it's like, but I did, because I had the Holy Spirit and I didn't die. Yeah. I have to live to talk about it. And so, I guess I'll leave it at that. But just want to say thanks, guys, for having me on. I didn't expect the conversation to go this way, but I'm glad that it did.
Woo, we did our job.
Yeah.
So, woo.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you if it was different than what you had kind of gone through, because I wanted to make sure Jay, you did a good job. So did you, Matt. And Phil, where can everybody find you at, follow you, support your businesses? I didn't even to ask you about public speaking, which I would love to have you back maybe to talk about what it's like to get into the arena of that, because that's a hell of a circuit to throw your name into, as I'm beginning to find out. But where can everybody find you and show some love to you and all that?
Yeah, on all social media handles, it's just the ampersand Phil Heath. And then philfit.com. That's where you can log on. You can actually hire me for a 30 to 60-minute call, where I can go through all these different pain points that even we shared on this, on this conversation. I really enjoy that, to be quite honest, because I love hearing people's pain points and trying to allow them to figure out the solution. We find it together. And, we could talk about, like I've talked about contest prep. I've talked about, like, hey, this is the right type of focus you should have when you're going into a peak week, or hiring a coach, or why it's necessary to hire someone like Matt, to involving your team to make sure that you're delivered on the recovery aspect to, hey, what does performance anxiety actually look like? Like when I hear these whispers and stuff, like, how do I get through that nonsense and how do I stay within my purpose? And then on that website as well, we have I put up 12-week programs of just like automated text messages directly to your mobile device that says, hey, I don't even want to think about my training split. Phil Heath did it for me. And these are the workouts. And it's very inexpensive. It's like $6 a month. It's literally like what, less than a Starbucks these days. And so I just did that just for those people that are like, you know what, I just need something different. I just want to try something out. And it's not something that's going to break the bank. But then also 7X Labs, it's SVNXLAB S. We're on Instagram. We will be launching in the next 2 months. So you guys will be seeing a lot of cool stuff from that. And then to be continued, because we got a lot of new stuff going on. I'm looking to get into the, opening up some gyms, and then also getting back into the peptide business as well. So that's always something very fun and in my opinion, something that should be done the right way with the real wellness specialists that know what the hell they're talking about, and not just be a drug dealer, and actually get you the right medications that are going to help you stay optimal. So, but outside of that, I mean, of course, you can go on my Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn as well, and you can DM me anytime. I do the public speaking still. I do the workshops, the seminars. And Jeff, yeah, we'll have another conversation about it. But overall, it's something that when you speak from conviction, you already know what it is. It's going to work. The hardest part is just navigating who would you like to speak to, and if there's going to be other people that are speaking at these events, do you actually vibe with their message?
Yep.
Now you have some charlatans out there that are scumbags, and
Yeah.
sometimes I don't take certain gigs because of who they've hired. And I understand, so people have their fans of who they want to hear. But for me, it's about a brand. It's like,
Phil, I own a supplement line and I own an advanced vitality, which is peptides, hormones, all that. So we might be able to have a cool little conversation, Jeff, in the future as Phil's brand gets going
Yeah.
there. Some of that other stuff he's doing. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was a candid conversation. I really, really appreciated the honesty, and hopefully we get to have you back on and you want to kick tires with us again, man. And
yeah,
to our audience, please go show him some love. There's definitely one of those consultation calls that you guys could take, and who knows, you might find Jay and I are on the other side, wanting to get our brains picked on what it's like to get to the next side with someone who's actually done it and healed from it. So, well, actually, the correct way would be saying still going through the journey of healing from it, which is something that you really want. But guys, like, share, get it out there. We really appreciate it. And thanks again, Phil, for your time, man.
thank you.
Peace.